artist or art creator is literature entry from Ruohan from Crystal McCall. I'm going to quickly read her artist statement. Actually I'll read her instead of. One night I read a true story on the internet about an autistic boy who saved his teacher's life. I was inspired to write a piece of writing on that story from the boy's perspective. I think anybody around me could be a hero if you try to help someone, no matter if you save another person's life, or just buy a book or some popcorn for a kid who didn't have any money. So, from Ruohan Huang, she will be reading her literature entry.
Here's an example of an equation. 6 times 5 equals 30. Mrs. Kaiser was reviewing some math vocabulary words we had already learned last year in 2nd grade. She suddenly stopped talking and started to cough continuously, each cough racking her body. I frowned. Did her lips just turn a little blue? Was there something wrong? Then Mrs. Kaiser began to sway, leaning heavily on the wall. She tried to stagger back to her desk, which was all the way across the room from where she stood, but she crumbled to the floor, still trying vainly to get to her feet and reach something on her desk, but with no avail. Finally, she collapsed on her back and wheezed uncontrollably. I could see that her neck and chest was tightening. Hey, I thought, this is familiar. Wait, doesn't this look similar to that scene from the movie Are We There Yet? Anxious murmurs and whispers spread throughout the classroom. I glanced at Mrs. Kaiser, who was obviously in distress. Nobody was stepping up to help her. Someone has to lend a hand. Mrs. Kaiser might even die. I stood up. I attracted no one's attention because they were used to have me standing up all the time. At the beginning of the school year, everybody in the entire school had always been glancing at me uncomfortably when they passed by. Nobody even wanted to talk to me. I tried to fit in with everyone else, but I always seemed to poke out of the crowd. But now, even though nobody still wanted to talk to me, no one really paid attention to me anymore. I'm grateful for that. I sprinted over to Mrs. Kaiser's desk and snatched up her delicate purse, which was put at a neat, organized corner with her $500 glasses, unlike the messy, unorganized part, crowded with all kinds of forms and homework sheets. I caught everyone's attention now. I unfastened the clasp and rifled through the contents of the purse, finding the gazes of the other students highly awkward and uneasy. The thing that the boy in the movie used to breathe normally again. I think it looked like an L-shaped device. Finally, I found it. I scrambled to Mrs. Kaiser and handed it to her. Mrs. Kaiser was panicky. How did the boy in the movie spray the medicine in this thing? Oh, I remember now. The boy put this thing to his mouth and pushed the top to spray the medicine that came out into his mouth. Under the curious pairs of eyes of every person in the classroom, I guided her hand to her mouth and sprayed some of the medicine into it, just in the nick of time. After Mrs. Kaiser was fully conscious, she hugged me tightly, like a mom would to her child. You saved my life, you're a superhero, Mrs. Kaiser explained, her voice quivering. She looked as if she was on the brink of tears. I had never expected to hear that spoken to me in my whole lifetime.